Hello and welcome to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports. I'm Swebb.
And I'm Dad.
And we are the dad and daughter duo talking about all of our favorite sports moments from the week. Dad, what's up?
Not much, Webb, not much. Same old, same old.
Same old, same old. We're 1 week out from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We'll be spending some time together.
Yes, we will.
You excited?
Yeah. Oh, about what? Thanksgiving or spending time with you?
Both.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited.
Okay, I know that you'll be bothering me all weekend, so let's not pretend like you're not gonna want to be all up in my grill all of Thanksgiving week.
Up in your grill?
Yes. Swebb, what do you want to do now? Swebb, what are we gonna do now? Sound familiar?
Yeah, that vaguely.
Okay. Yeah. So let's jump into some sports here.
Yep.
We're recording on a Monday night. The Knicks, of course, are playing again Monday night. So we don't know by the time everyone sees this what the results will be of that game. But let's talk about the Knicks because they've now won back-to-back games against the Brooklyn Nets on Friday and Sunday. They're 7-6, second in the Atlantic Division, fourth in a very crowded Eastern Conference. Cleveland Cavaliers, Boston Celtics have really set themselves apart from the rest of the conference, and then it's really just a mashup there. But all in all, the Knicks are finding a way to win some games here, Dad.
Yeah, they're starting to turn the corner. The chemistry's starting to work out a little bit. We'll see what happens. They've had a few little nicks and little bumps and bruises. They're starting to get there. They're starting to get there. And their defense hasn't really improved much, but it will improve a lot once they get Robinson back and Ochoa back. Ochoa before Robinson, most likely. I've never seen a guy sitting out so long with a pulled hamstring. Gee.
Well, let's talk about the defense because it seems to be non-existent. And yes, Mitchell Robinson is known for his defense, but I would say, and Karl-Anthony Towns, as we've mentioned, he's not really a defensive player. He's certainly an offensive player. We've seen that. He's been averaging 30 points over the past week. And he's averaging 12 rebounds a game, which is top 5 in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not the only issue defensively. The guards don't seem to be playing much defense as well. We know that Jalen Brunson has limitations defensively. He always has. My biggest thing, we saw it a lot on Friday when they just squeaked out that win against the Nets with a game-winning shot by Jalen Brunson with 6 seconds left. They don't move their feet on defense. Then they throw their bodies into the offensive players. Then they get fouls. They called on them, and then they start complaining to the refs. It's like they need to take the rims off the baskets up in Westchester and just have them doing defensive slides back and forth because they don't move their feet. Then they're using their bodies, and then they're surprised when fouls get called on them. Like, guys, stop complaining. Your defense sucks.
Walt Frazier was talking about that the other night. You got to move your feet on defense. You know about that, Swebb.
They're defending flat-footed, and then they're a little bit slow. Sometimes when you're more athletic, you're able to block a shot after you get a guard runs past you and throws up a shot. That happened a couple of times where the athleticism kicked in. But man, it's a bit frustrating to watch, even though we did get the wins, because essentially the games have been so close that the Knicks are going with an 8-man rotation for the most part. They haven't even been able to open up a big enough lead. And even when they did, because they weren't playing defense against the Nets on Friday, the Nets come storming back, and you can't give those starters a rest.
Well, one good thing they are doing is in the games that they're getting some of these younger players some playing time. that down the road they'll be able to contribute. If not late this year, maybe next year, they'll be able to contribute in key spots in games. They are starting to develop a little talent.
Huck Porty, the draft pick for this past spring, has played really well. Big man playing really well. On Friday, Karl-Anthony Towns did not play, so Huck Porty ended up playing 30 minutes, scored 7 points in those 30 minutes.
Blocked 4 shots.
4 shots. He's very 4 rebounds, 3 assists as well. Certainly plays better defense. You know, and I excuse some of the younger guys for maybe not always playing the best defense because it's the NBA is new to them. Everything is new, right? But he's quite athletic, more athletic than I think we would have realized on draft night. But then Sunday comes along and he doesn't play at all. I know Karl-Anthony Towns is back in the lineup, but you just had this guy play 30 minutes, plays some solid minutes for you, and then Sunday doesn't play at all.
That's how the coach operates. He likes going with veterans. He only uses the young players when he's absolutely has to.
Well,
and that kid played a good game on Friday night.
I would think that Monday night he's going to be using a lot of them, because let's talk about the minutes that have been played in the last 2 games. Now, the Knicks Sunday night had a game. Now they have a back-to-back. They're playing the Washington Wizards. They're 2-10. This is a team that they should beat. But let's talk about how tired some of these guys might be. 45 minutes from Mikal Bridges on Sunday, 41 minutes from him on Friday. And for those who aren't well-versed in the NBA, the game is only 48 minutes long. OG Anunoby, 40 minutes on Sunday, 39 minutes on Friday, and he fouled out of that game. Sunday, Josh Hart, 46 minutes. 40 on Sunday, 40 minutes on Friday. So
that's a lot of wear and tear on people's bodies.
That's a lot of wear and tear. Now, we talked about this last week, the Knicks having 8 games in these 2 weeks. And when you're playing 40 to 45 minutes a game, it's tough to go back to back. So, yeah, they're a little bit flat-footed on defense. Their legs are quite tired.
Well, we'll see what happens Monday night and how many he's going to have to start playing some of these younger kids a little bit. And they have to do the best they can. They do play hard.
The Knicks bench.
They do play hard, but they do make a lot of mistakes.
Right. The Knicks bench, 30 out of 30 teams in points per game, averaging 18.8 points. And that's really from Deuce McBride, who hasn't played the past couple of games.
Because he's been hurt.
He's really the only guy off the bench that scores some points. Campaign was also hurt, comes in, can make some shots and score some points. But 30 out of 30 teams, and they're averaging 12 minutes per game.
Off the bench?
Off the bench.
You can't. That's not sustainable.
Also 30 out of 30 on that.
That's not sustainable. They're going to have to come up with something.
Right.
It will improve a lot when Ochoa gets back, because I'm sure he'll play at least 20, 25 minutes. And then when Robinson gets back, he should probably play at least 20 minutes. So that stuff kind of even out. And Campaign, he's a nice little player. I like him.
He is. I don't always want him being the guy that ends up with the ball in his hands to hit the shot when the game is on the line, like it seemed to find him on Friday. But he is a good player and certainly a good bench player, and a guy who can make some outside shots, can control the game.
He's a good ball handler.
Yes.
He has experience. He can get. He's a young veteran. I don't know how old he is.
I don't even think he's 30 yet.
Might not
he
even
is
be 30.
quite young.
Right.
But
he
has
knows,
been in the
and
league
he's played
for a
on
while.
some winning teams. He played with Philadelphia last year. He was on Phoenix the year they went to the finals. So, he can play.
And the Knicks starters, I mean, we have talked about this. They are an excellent offensive team. They're starting to move the ball around quite a bit. Karl-Anthony Towns leading the way, averaging 26 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, as I mentioned. Jalen Brunson averaging 24 points per game. OG Anunoby, 17 and a half. Mikal Bridges, 16 and a half, and Josh Hart, 13.7 points per game. So your starting five is doing great. They look great when they're on the floor on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, not always what you want to see. I hate turning on the game on a Sunday afternoon or early evening to watch the Knicks and seeing the starters in the early third quarter. Like those are the minutes in a game where the bench should be playing. But so far, they're finding a way, despite the loss against Chicago, which they ended up blowing that game with the foul. It wasn't a great play, a great call by the ref of Josh Hart on Kobe White. And then he hits 3 free throws, and then Jalen Brunson comes down and misses a shot in the last second of the game.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned,
remember they're only
Washington.
they're only 7-6.
Right.
And that's not good. But that gets them into fourth place in the Eastern Conference to show you how everything's so mediocre this year so far.
And they're second in the Atlantic Division. So there's a long season to go. I guess my concerns are really, will these guys have legs come April, December, really, with the amount of minutes that they're playing and all the games that they have back to back every other night. Now they have this game against Washington on Monday night, and then they'll head to the West Coast and they'll play some Western Conference teams that are good. So they'll play Phoenix this week. They'll also play Utah on Saturday. So they'll be out there for about a week and a half playing some good competition. Denver's on the schedule for next week.
That's going to be their longest road trip of the year. And Denver started playing well. And then the Joker got hurt, and he hasn't played the last two games that they've lost.
And I'm actually surprised when I look at the Western Conference standings to see Golden State at the top, just given the fact that they've had a few down seasons these past couple of years. OKC has been great. They were great last year. They're 11-3. Houston, also a team that's improved tremendously and is now at the top of the conference, and the Lakers 9-4. So
Houston, they've had a lot of high draft picks the last few years, and these guys have started to develop. That's why you see that. The Lakers, J.J. Redick took over as the coach, and from listening to him on ESPN, I knew he had a tremendous brain when he was at Duke. He was a great player and smart player. And then he had a long NBA career, 12, 13 years, was excellent player and very smart. It's not a surprise that he's a good coach. And he's really pushing those guys, even the veteran guys. The other day he was shouting at LeBron James. He doesn't care. Boom, you're going to do it this way.
Yeah, I got to say, and I'm no Lakers fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I do have to say I was a little bit skeptical, not necessarily of J.J. Redick becoming the head coach, but of the Lakers drafting Bronny James and making a big spectacle of a player that's not ready for the NBA, certainly not even ready for the G League, to be on the roster.
With a draft pick.
Didn't love that. So, yes, a draft pick, let alone roster spot. Now he's only playing home games in the G League. Whatever, that's a discussion for another day, but pleasantly surprised to see the Lakers 9-4, given some of the antics leading into the season.
Yeah, it's because of the coaching. They have some talent, and then it's because of the coaching. He's not putting up with any nonsense from these guys. You're going to do it my way or the highway. He's old school.
So now the Knicks will get tested going to the West Coast and playing some good teams and essentially playing on tired legs. So we'll see what happens there. As of the time of our recording, no updates on Juan Soto. What I've heard is that the Mets, Boston, the Yankees are all in the mix. The numbers being tossed around from the Mets are $660 million over, I believe, 15 years. The last that I had heard is that the Yankees meeting didn't go well, and I don't know how true it is. I didn't do a ton of fact checking just before recording this. I just saw it on Twitter. The Yankees aren't willing to go up to $660 million. And essentially, I think what was said in the room, which we won't know, is that they said that we'll still be the Yankees, whether you're on the team or not, Juan. So
Exactly.
no updates
Exactly.
there.
I've seen the greatest of the greats play for them and retire, and they kept winning. So, you know what? You can't be doing stupid stuff. That money could be
I would
dispersed
think
amongst. They have a few different openings, a few different holes that can be dispersed in a few different places.
Well, here's the thing: they've dispersed money in the past and ended up having guys like DJ LeMahieu and others,
Oh, and he won the batting title. Until his body broke down, he was great.
and it broke down in a year. What a turnaround there!
No, 2 years. 2 years.
The third baseman that from the A's that then was on the Twins.
He was kind of washed up when they got him.
Yeah, and they overpaid for him, but that's an example of splitting money between a few different guys, and you end up with no real solution, no viable solution. So, I would love for Juan Soto to make a decision. I would think that the decision would be easy, the way that the fans treated him this season, the way that his family was obsessed with the team, the way that he was obsessed with the team. I would think that this decision should be easy. The Mets, though, they're a good team, right? So, and they're willing to fork over the cash, but the Mets will never be the Yankees.
That is true.
So, but let's talk about some postseason awards now. The Yankees had 2 finalists, 2 of 3 in the MVP race. Obviously, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, along with Bobby Witt Jr. from Kansas City.
He's good.
Aaron Judge is expected to be the MVP there, despite his postseason play, because this is a regular season award. And then on the NL MVP side, you have Shohei Ohtani, Francisco Lindor, and Ketel Marte from the Diamondbacks. So Ohtani is also expected to be the NL MVP there. But some good news as well for the Yankees on the Rookie of the Year side. 2 finalists in that race with Luis Gil and Austin Wells.
It's amazing they had 2 rookies. And that's what you got to do. Just keep bringing up young players and melding them in. Last year it was Volpe. This year it was Gil and Wells. Last year it was also King got a chance to start, and they were able to flip him for Soto. And last year, Clark moved into the starting rotation, and he continued this year. You just got to keep bringing up players. Next year, hopefully, it'll be Dominguez in left field or center field. And you just keep melding in young players. And 3 years down the road, you're going to see a whole new roster of young players that are experienced and ready to go.
That's really how they built their success in the 90s and 2000s was Jorge Posada, Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte,
Bernie Williams
even. So Mariano Rivera, obviously.
Andy Pettitte.
So, yes. So drafting and developing guys is important in every sport. I think we've talked about this multiple times throughout the year, depending on the season. You still want to be able to sign a guy like Juan Soto when he's available at 26 years old. But it's good to see, and kudos to the Yankees for finally getting some guys from their farm system to have some successful seasons here back to back.
Yep. That's what you have to do. All winning organizations that win constantly year after year, not necessarily a championship, but have contending teams year after year, you have to have that influx of good talent. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at the Buffalo Bills. Look at the those teams that always up there, they constantly have young players moving into the lineup.
And so the Yankees should have some hardware towards the end of this week with some announcements. They're going to be $15 million richer in 2025 because the Tampa Bay Rays have their stadium, due to the hurricanes in South Florida this past fall, ruined the stadium completely. And the stadium was not in good condition prior to the hurricane. But they are going to be playing at George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, which is the Yankees spring training site, for the 2025 season. So they're going to pay the Yankees $15 million to rent out their stadium for a full season.
There's only one big problem. In Florida, you need a dome stadium in the summertime because every afternoon, as you very well know, there are thunder showers. And you don't have batting practice, and the game gets delayed. I remember we went to a game there, not this past season, last year, and it was when we were getting out of the car in the parking lot, it was pouring, and it poured the whole night. So if they didn't have a dome, they wouldn't have played that night.
Well, thank you for bringing me back to some of the hardest years of my life. Yes, I started my career in minor league baseball. I worked for a team that was based in Florida, and I can attest to the fact, and many people who have been to Florida in the summer or live in Florida currently, it rains a few times a day in the summer. But I will say that we only had a handful of rainouts in our season. We had 70 home games a season, and we probably only had 4 or 5 a season. Now, games did get delayed, the start of games, because of rain delays. But as long as you have a very strong field crew who can pull tarp every few hours, you should be fine. And I would think that the Yankees spring training facilities probably have some indoor batting cages.
Right.
So they're probably going to get some use this summer.
Do you know anything about pulling tarp, a wet tarp, on and off the field?
I sure do, and it was one of the reasons that I knew I had to get to the big leagues, okay? Because for those who don't know baseball too well, the tarp is what covers the field when it's raining. It's quite heavy, and naturally, it gets wet often, and the dirt on the infield is like clay. So when it gets wet, it almost becomes like quicksand. It gets everywhere. It stains all your clothes. And I spent 2 years in minor league baseball in Central Florida, every day having a radar open on my computer. Like the tab of one of the websites was a weather website where you have the radar, and you can see the the storm clouds forming on the radar. You could also see them out the window, because in Florida sometimes like the sky just completely turns dark and you know that it's game over and you got to run to the tarp. So we all had walkie-talkies back in the day, and we used to get a call, "Hey guys, everyone meet down at the tarp." Of course, I was always the last one to arrive because no one's running to the tarp. Although we were supposed to move with some urgency, this is probably the thing I hated the most. So I usually took my time, whistled my way down, walked leisurely, and then it's go time. You have to roll it out. You've got to run back and forth with it to make sure that it's on the field properly, and you have to unfold it, and it's heavy. And if you're moving it while it's raining, it's even worse. There was one game where we did not get the tarp on the field in time. It only got halfway on the field, and we had a rain out because the whole infield was soaked. And my boss was mad at the time. But yeah, I remember those days, and that grounds crew in Tampa is going to be working overtime.
Well, at least you got paid well.
Yeah. About 15 cents an hour for the amount of hours that I worked and was at the stadium. And that's when I knew I had to get to the big leagues. And guess what? I did. And I haven't thought about the tarp since. Until today.
Oh, man.
So, um, Dave Sims, new voice of the Yankees on radio and WFAN. He formerly was with the Seattle Mariners, but way back when 1986 to 1993 was the radio voice of the Knicks. So he's back in action.
And he was on WFAN talk radio in New York. He's a tremendous announcer. He's a tremendous announcer. I listened to like 20 minutes of him tapes doing the Seattle Mariners games. People are going to like him. He's a tremendous announcer. He's also 71 years old. Okay?
I saw that today.
So
These guys don't like to retire.
yeah. But you know what? A lot of the younger guys don't have the pizzazz some of those older guys that have been doing it for a long time. This guy has pizzazz. This guy's really into it. We'll see. People are gonna like him on the radio.
For anyone who loves sports and likes talking, now's the time to practice being a radio announcer, because we're starving for some talent here, and we're hiring senior citizens. So,
do you think it's too late for me? I like talking,
yes,
and I know sports.
Because you are a senior citizen. You're in that senior citizen bracket, Dad.
Oh man.
So, if you're young and like sports, start practicing your radio announcing. There could be a job out there for you.
Yeah. Put some stuff up on YouTube before you know it. Boom. Somebody sees you, hears you, and you're in.
That's true. Nowadays, with multimedia and all the social media platforms and things like that, you can get out your message out there and you can be seen by tons of people. When I was studying to be a broadcast journalism back in the 2000s, early 2000s, we had to put it on a DVD and send it out to news stations. So certainly now you can just upload things really quickly, as we do every week. So for anyone who wants to be an aspiring radio broadcaster, now's your time. Hone your craft.
Right.
All right, let's talk about some college football. We don't really need to talk about Michigan. Michigan and Miami were both on byes this past week. Michigan will play Northwestern. They're 5-5. They're just struggling to get into a bowl game. They should win this game against Northwestern. But more importantly, Miami, they play Wake Forest on Saturday. Miami is 9-1. They have 2 games remaining. They have to win both of those to have a shot to play in the ACC championship. Now, there are 3 teams vying for 2 spots. SMU is undefeated. They play 2 games against, I think 1 game against an ACC opponent and 1 game against a non-conference opponent. And Clemson ends up going 7-1 in conference play. Their last 2 games are against non-conference opponents. So, Miami is 5-1 in ACC play, so they need to win both games to be 7-1 to be tied with Clemson. There are a bunch of tiebreaker scenarios. The gist of it is, if they all have the same record, now SMU is undefeated in conference play, so let's say that they win out. Now it's between Miami and Clemson at, hopefully, 7-1 in conference play. The tiebreaker is your record against like opponents. So if you've played the same team in conference play, they will take that into account for your record for that tiebreaker. So because Clemson lost to Louisville and Miami beat Louisville this season, they would make the ACC championship game. So they need to get things done. They need to stop the ball on defense this Saturday. They need to not take their foot off the gas and not mess this up, because that's their only way for them to get into the ACC championship and then potentially into the college football playoffs.
That'd be good. They better not bone up. Where is the Wake Forest game going to be played?
It's in Miami. And, either way, either school, I wouldn't say that this is like the most threatening college football atmosphere that you could have. Like Miami's not known for having like the most excited fan base for games that aren't against rivals. But hopefully fans do show up. It's a 12 noon game, so it'll be a bit hot, although we are towards the end of November, so maybe a little bit more bearable to go to a 12 noon game. And yeah, it's just, I haven't seen an ACC championship. Miami, when they were realigned into the ACC, the thought was that Miami and Virginia Tech were going to run the table in the ACC and constantly be winning the ACC championship. Now, Miami enters the ACC in 2004. 20 years later, still no ACC championship. I think they've made the game once or twice in that.
They made it, and they lost to Clemson bad.
And they lost, yeah. So I think it was actually just once. So I would love to finally see an ACC championship, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. We need to win against Wake this weekend.
Yep.
And now college basketball. UNC, number 10 in the country, 2-1. Side note, Miami 3-0, not ranked yet, but on the verge of being in the top 25. UNC's next game is Saturday at Hawaii.
Yeah, right. Saturday. In Hawaii, it's 7:30. Eastern time, it's 12:30 Saturday morning. ESPN 2. I will see them play 4 times in person in the next week and a half. And I will be at that game.
So you will be in Hawaii.
There's only one reason, Swebb. Your mother wanted to see Carolina play in person so bad. So she said, listen, we have to go to Hawaii to see them play because they're going to be playing 1 time in Honolulu, 3 times in Maui. We have to go. I'm not taking no for an answer. I said, okay.
So all those times of living in Raleigh and being in, right down the road from Chapel Hill, but she demanded seeing the team in Hawaii.
Yeah, something like that.
Or you demanded seeing the team in Hawaii, but she said okay. I don't know who's smarter, Mom for saying okay so she could get a trip to Hawaii, or you for wanting to go to the game so bad that you said, do you want to go to Hawaii? Do you want to go to Hawaii?
It was more something like that. We were supposed to go 4 years ago, but the tournament got canceled because of COVID. So she said, well, I want to go to Hawaii anyway. I said, okay, why don't we go in 4 years? Because Carolina plays there every 4 years. So, there we go.
So it's a classic case of both of you trying to outsmart each other.
Well, yeah, we'll keep it like that.
All I know is that you're both going to Hawaii, and Mom will get to spend time on the beach, which she loves, and you'll get to spend time in a basketball gym.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Isn't that's what you call, two-way street.
So we know what you're looking forward to this week. I'm looking forward to seeing how Miami does this weekend and from here on out. I'm also looking forward to next week, it being Thanksgiving and being able to spend time with Mom.
With Mom? What about me?
Oh, and you. Yes, I am looking forward to spending time with you. Dad, do you want to say and let people know anything that you're thankful for this year?
I'm thankful for you, Swebb. I'm thankful for you.
You said that last year.
Well, see, nothing's changed. See that? Nothing has changed. You stayed on the good list this year.
I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for some of the free meals that I'm going to have next weekend. Although, just so you know, because I will be getting to the house before you guys get back, I will do some grocery shopping to make sure that we have some things to eat in the house since you guys will be out for a bit. So send me your requests. I already have charcuterie on the list. I've got milk or creamer depending on, for coffee. I've got some bananas. I know Mom likes blackberries, but send me your requests.
Wait a second. We're talking about Thanksgiving. You're talking about creamer and blueberries and blackberries and whatever.
I'm not cooking the turkey.
You're not?
No.
You don't know how to cook a turkey?
I know how to cook a turkey breast. But do you really want me to experiment on Thanksgiving weekend? Like, that's something that you do in October, and then you see how it pans out before you try it Thanksgiving weekend, Dad.
Okay. Oh, man.
But I heard that we're going to a restaurant, so
Oh, really?
I'll see you there.
We'll see.
Okay, so before we close things out, do you want to leave us with a little tip of the week, a dad tip of the week?
Yes. Karl-Anthony Towns on the Knicks. You know how I've always told you, Swebb, you and your brother, you have to outwork people. You have to work harder than anyone. Don't sit around complaining. Don't sit around sucking your thumb. Just work hard, whatever, and try to be the best at whatever you do, okay? Whether it's schoolwork, you were in the marching band, track, basketball, your brother was baseball and basketball, whatever. Do the best you can and outwork people. And when everybody else is sleeping, you should be working. Well, Karl-Anthony Towns on the Knicks. I believe it was Friday night against Chicago. No, it was a few nights before that, maybe Wednesday night against the Chicago Bulls. They lost that game by, 1 point, 2 points? He scored 46 points. He had like 15 rebounds, and he shot 4 of 8. He took 8 free throws. He made 4. And he was so down after that game that he went out on the court in his full uniform and was practicing free throw shooting. I have never seen an NBA player, a professional player, practice right after a game. I've seen college players do it, but I've never seen an NBA player. And you know what? That guy sold me. You will never hear me say anything about maybe slow feet, lack of defense, because when this man makes about $50 million a year, and when he went out on the court and was practicing, the reason why I know that, because they were doing the post-game show, and you know how Mountain McNutt stands on the court and talks to the guys in the studio? Well, behind her, Towns, and they said, Monica, could you move out of the way? So she moved out of the way, and one of the assistant coaches was out there with him, and he was practicing his free throws. That impressed me so much. Nothing impresses me more than people working hard. And he didn't have to do that. He probably had, his father comes to all the games. His mom died a few years ago during COVID. She died from COVID. He didn't have to do that. His father was probably waiting for him to go have something to eat. He was out there practicing free throws. That impressed me so much.
Look at you being a believer of the trade.
I'm a believer in...
He's buying into the trade, folks. You hear that?
Because the man works hard and he has a great attitude. He has great talent, but he has a great attitude and works hard. And he's doing everything with his God-given ability that he can do. It's not his fault that his feet are a little slow and he can't guard some people. I'll take that. For a guy that has his attitude, I want that guy in my foxhole.
Karl-Anthony Towns is making a fan out of you.
Great
job, Cat.
He made a fan out of me by his hard work and his attitude. On top of his production. On top of his production.
On top of the 26 and 12.
Yes, but you know what? He didn't have a good night from the free throw line, so he was out there after the game to correct it. That's the kind of man I want in my foxhole with me.
All right. Well, Kat making a believer out of Dad. My tip of the week is you don't have to bang on the table to get your point across. That's my tip. Thankful for you, despite all of your, mannerisms and the way that people who only listen to us are gonna hear you banging on the table. Looking forward to being able to spend some time with you next week. We won't be filming because it's Thanksgiving. We're traveling, all types of things, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. This just in, Luis Heel, AL Rookie of the Year.
Wow, he
starting
deserved
pitcher
it.
for the Yankees.
He was 15-7, something like that.
Edged out Colton Crouser by 2 first-place votes. So
He was good, too. Baltimore Orioles.
Baltimore Orioles, yes. So it's a good week, hoping for some more success, hoping for a Knicks win tonight, hopefully against a 2-10 Washington Wizards team. And Karl-Anthony Towns making a believer out of Dad. So we'll see you in a few weeks. Happy Thanksgiving,
I'm going to take
folks.
some pictures, Swebb, and some videos. I might even be able to catch an interview with some of the Carolina players because I know the hotel they're staying at. And I will send it to you, and you can post it.
And he's going to stay awake, folks.
I'm going to what?
Happy Thanksgiving.
So long.
Thank you for tuning in to Dad and Swebb Talk Sports, the show where we cover all of our favorite sports moments from the past week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and follow us at Dad and Swebb on Instagram and X. See you next week.